Jack Miller wiped sweat from his forehead as he looked at the strange machine part in front of him. The alien ship's engine was like nothing he had seen before, with crystal parts and living wires. But the basic idea was still the same. Something was stopping the power from flowing right, and he was going to find it. "How's it going, Jack?" Olivia Tate asked, sliding next to him on her rolling work platform. "It's like someone tried to put a square peg in a round hole," Jack said, picking up his testing tool. "But I think I see what's wrong." Olivia smiled. "That's what you always say. Then you fix something that 3 alien mechanics couldn't figure. Out for weeks." The repair station, known as Station 47 but called Miller's Fix-It Shop by ships from many star systems, floated in space near Mars. It started as a small stop for human ships traveling between Earth and the outer colonies. Now, 10 years after meeting aliens for the first time, it had grown into a big complex with many docks, building areas, and supply warehouses that fixed ships from over 30 different alien races. Station boss Elaine Daniels watched from her office window as another alien ship came close. This one a smooth black warship from the normally unfriendly Drakari Empire. It was the 3rd Drakari ship this month, which was surprising since until last year, they didn't even want to be in the same part of space as humans. "Boss, the Drakari captain is asking to dock," said her helper Alan Brooks. "They say their spacefold engines are badly broken. Top emergency level." Elaine raised an eyebrow. "Top level? That's the 4th top emergency we've had this week. Put them in Bay 12 and tell Carol to meet them." They asked for Jack Miller by name. "Of course, they did," Elaine sighed. "Jack's already working on one alien ship and he has another one waiting after that. The Drakari captain says they'll pay 3 times the normal price." Elaine leaned back and looked at all the ships around her station. When humans first went into deep space, they thought they would be the beginners among old, advanced alien civilizations. Instead, they found that while many aliens had technology far better than human tech, almost none of them were good at fixing things that broke. "Tell the Drakari we'll help them," she said finally. "And call Frank from Bay 7. He's almost as good as Jack." In Bay 5, Jack had found the problem in the alien freighter. A tiny crack in the crystal engine part was making power leak into the backup systems, causing a chain of failures that the ship's computers couldn't find. "Look at this." He pointed to the screen where Olivia had made the crack appear 10,000 times bigger. "Their whole system is going crazy because of something smaller than a hair." The alien captain, a tall, thin being with rainbow-colored skin, moved its head feelers in what Jack knew was their way of showing surprise. "How did you find this tiny flaw?" it asked, its translator changing its musical language into simple English. "Our best mechanics looked at the engine for 3 days." Jack shrugged. "Just needed to look at it differently. Your testing computers are made to find broken parts, but sometimes the problem isn't a broken part. It's a good part doing the wrong job." As Olivia carefully started to fix the crack, Jack looked at his work list on his tablet. The list had grown again, with ships from 12 different worlds waiting for his help. "You know," Olivia said while working, her hands steady as she controlled the tiny repair robots, "I heard the big alien government is thinking about making human repair skills a protected treasure of the galaxy." Jack laughed. "Yeah, right after they finish arguing about whether humans are smart beings or just clever apes. I'm serious. The tall blue aliens have been studying our repair stations for years, trying to figure out why we're so good at this." "Nothing to figure out," Jack said, helping her set up the robots. "We've just been fixing our own stuff for thousands of years. When something breaks on Earth, you either fix it or you go without it." What Jack didn't say, what most humans knew, but kept to themselves, was that the space-traveling aliens grew up very differently. Many had discovered space travel through big science breakthroughs or had been helped by other aliens. Few had followed humanity's long, messy path of trying, failing, and making do with what they had. As the tiny repair robots did their work, Jack looked out the window at the growing line of alien ships waiting for human cleverness to solve problems their builders never thought would happen. Inside the alien ship's engine room, Jack saw something that made him curious. Unlike human ships where everything was built to be taken apart and fixed, this alien engine was made like it would never break. There were no access panels, no easy-to-replace parts. "Why did you build it this way?" Jack asked the alien captain, pointing to the sealed engine parts. "How do you fix it when something goes wrong?" The alien's skin changed color slightly. "Fix? We do not fix. When part fails, we replace whole section." Jack was shocked. "The whole section? That must cost a fortune." "Cost is not important. Perfection is important," the alien said. "Our engineers build perfect systems. If system fails, it is shameful." Now Jack understood better. For these aliens, a broken machine wasn't just a problem to solve. It was a mark of failure, something to hide. No wonder they came to human stations where fixing things was just another day's work, not a cultural embarrassment. The repair robots finished their work and Jack ran a test. The engine hummed to life, its crystal parts glowing with steady blue light. "There," Jack said. "Good as new." The alien captain's skin rippled with color. "Not new. Better than new. You have done what was thought impossible." Jack smiled. "Not impossible. Just needed the right pair of eyes and some elbow grease." As the alien ship prepared to leave, the captain approached Jack one last time. "Why do humans fix what others would replace?" Jack thought for a moment. "I guess because we know everything breaks eventually. What matters isn't preventing failure. It's how you respond when it happens." Across the station, in her office, Elaine was looking at the newest report. Human repair stations were now fixing 75% of all commercial ships in this sector of space. Earth, once a backwater planet, was becoming essential to galactic trade. "Should we raise our prices?" Alan asked, seeing the numbers. "The demand is certainly there." Elaine shook her head. "No, we didn't get into this to get rich. We got into it because that's what humans do. We fix things." As night fell on the station, they kept Earth time for the comfort of the human crew. The lights of alien ships blinked all around them, each one waiting for the human touch, the special mix of creativity, stubbornness, and practical thinking that could take something broken and make it whole again. Just another day at the repair shop that was quickly becoming the most important place in the galaxy. 6 months later, Carol was floating in zero gravity next to a huge alien ship that looked like a giant coral reef drifting through space. This was a living ship of the Yith, aliens who were more like a group mind than single beings. Next to Carol, a special Yith organism that could talk to other species glowed with changing colors. "The pain. The pain is here," the talker organism said, as parts of the living ship glowed red. "Many days. Many treatments. Nothing helps." Carol adjusted her special glasses and scanned the glowing red areas. The Yith were among the strangest aliens humans had met. They were not single creatures, but billions of small organisms working together as one being. Their ships weren't built with metal and wires. They were grown like plants or animals. "I think I see the problem," Carol said, looking deeper into the living tissue of the ship. "Your ship is having something like an allergy. Part of your ship thinks another part is an enemy and is attacking it." The talker organism flashed quickly, telling this to the rest of the ship. After a moment, it glowed again. "How fix? I need to make a medicine to stop the attack, then fix the way your cells talk to each other," Carol explained, already thinking about how to help. "Basically, I need to tell your ship to stop fighting itself." The talker organism turned deep blue, which Carol knew meant the Yith were thinking hard. Then, humans. Understand living ships? Yith thought humans use dead metal. Carol smiled. "We use metal ships, yes, but we've been studying life for hundreds of years. Sickness, injury, immune systems. The basic ideas are surprisingly similar everywhere." 3 hours later, Carol finished giving the last of her special medicine to the Yith ship. Already the angry red glow was fading, replaced by a healthy blue-green light. "The pain. Less now," the talker organism flashed. "How did humans become such healers?" Carol started packing her tools. "Mostly because we had to. On our world, if something breaks and you can't buy a new one, you learn to fix it. Over time, that becomes part of who you are." Back at the main station, Boss Elaine was showing around an unusual visitor. Ambassador Krell from the Galactic Council, a strange being that breathed methane gas and looked like a mix between an octopus and a spider, floated in a special suit as they toured the control center. "And this is our scheduling system," Elaine explained, pointing to a big screen showing hundreds of ships being fixed. "We're now working at more than 3 times what we planned for, with ships waiting about 15 days for non-emergency repairs." Ambassador Krell's translator hummed. "Very impressive, Director. And all these ships are from non-human civilizations?" "About 94% of them, yes. The other 6% are human ships." "And these repair stations, you have how many now?" 117 working stations throughout Council space, with another 35 being built," Elaine replied. "Earth's space docks have been changed almost completely to repair and maintenance work." The ambassador's suit rippled as the being inside changed colors, showing strong feelings that the suit's sensors translated as great interest. "Director Daniels, I must be honest. The Council has been watching the growth of human repair facilities with worry." Elaine kept her face careful and calm. "Worry, Ambassador? We're providing a needed service." "Indeed, perhaps too needed." The ambassador moved closer to the screen. "Many Council species have become dependent on human repair skills. Some have even started to design ships expecting that humans will fix them. Is that a problem?" "It creates a weakness," Krell said plainly. "And some Council members worry that humanity might use this dependency against them." Elaine turned to face the ambassador directly. "With all respect, Ambassador, if we wanted to take advantage, we would charge much more than we do. Most of our stations barely make a profit. We do this work because it needs doing, and because we're good at it. Your species' psychology remains puzzling to many Council experts," Krell admitted. "You don't have a hive mind, yet you work together better than many group-minded species. You don't live for thousands of years like the old races, yet you plan projects that will outlive your individual lives. And now this strange skill for repair work. We call it the handy ape paradox," Elaine said with a small smile. "The same hands that can make a fist can also hold a baby or fix a broken engine. Being able to do many different things is our specialty." As they continued the tour, neither noticed the small flying robot nearby, recording their talk to send to interest far beyond Council space. Later that day, Elaine sat in her office reviewing reports from the other human repair stations. The growth was even faster than she had told the ambassador. New stations were opening every month, and the waiting list for repairs was getting longer, despite adding more docks and workers. A knock at her door pulled her attention away from the reports. Frank stood there, looking tired but happy. "Just finished with the Drakari warship," he said. "You won't believe what I found." "Try me," Elaine said, gesturing for him to sit. Their main engines, the ones that bend space-time, were failing because they hadn't been tuned properly in almost 100 years. They just followed the same maintenance steps their ancestors set up, never changing anything even though the universe itself has changed. Elaine leaned forward. "What do you mean the universe changed?" "Space isn't the same everywhere or all the time," Frank explained. "These high-level drives need to be adjusted for local space conditions. It's like tuning a piano that's moved from a dry desert to a humid jungle. But the Drakari never thought to check that. They just kept doing the same maintenance their great-grandparents did." "And you fixed it?" Frank nodded. "I showed them how to measure local space-time conditions and adjust their engines to match. Their engineer nearly fell over when I explained it, said it wasn't in any of their technical manuals." Elaine made a note in her tablet. "This fits with what we're seeing across all species. They know how to build amazing technology, but they don't know how to adapt when conditions change. That's because they see tech as something perfect and unchanging," Frank said. "We see it as something that's always a work in progress, always something you can tinker with and improve." On the other side of the station, Olivia was teaching a class to a mixed group of alien engineers. This was a new program Elaine had started, not just fixing alien ships, but teaching aliens how to think like human mechanics. "The key isn't knowing every answer beforehand," Olivia explained to the group. "It's having a method to find answers when you need them. A tall blue alien raised its hand. But our technical manuals contain every possible failure scenario. Every scenario your builders could think of, Olivia corrected. But the universe is more creative than any manual writer. You need to learn how to think, not just what to think. Another alien, a short fuzzy one with 6 eyes, clicked its mouthparts nervously. My people believe technology is sacred. To change or modify it without proper rituals is forbidden. Olivia nodded respectfully. I understand. Many human cultures used to think that way too. But think of it this way. Isn't saving lives by fixing a broken life support system also sacred work? The alien's fur rippled as it considered this new idea. Word was spreading across the galaxy. Humans didn't just fix machines, they fixed thinking. They offered a new way to look at technology, not as perfect creations to be worshipped, but as tools that could be improved, adapted, and reimagined. In his quarters that night, Jack read messages from Carol about her work with the living Yith ship. This was something new, applying human repair thinking to biological systems. If they could fix living ships, what else might they fix? The station hummed around him, full of broken ships finding new life under human hands. But more importantly, it was full of alien minds beginning to see the universe through human eyes that saw broken things not as failures, but as opportunities. 1 year later, Jack Miller found himself doing something he never expected, leaving his repair station. The emergency message that came through special channels was short but impossible to ignore. A huge group of refugee ships, damaged and failing, carrying millions of people from a star system that was dying. The Callisto, a quickly rebuilt human transport ship, carried Jack and 30 other top repair experts from stations throughout the solar system. None of them knew exactly what they would find, only that the situation was desperate and the refugees had specifically asked for human repair crews. Coming out of faster-than-light travel in 30 seconds, announced the pilot Nancy Bell, her voice tense. Everyone strap in. Reports say there's lots of broken pieces floating around. The Callisto came out of light speed into total chaos. Hundreds of ships of different sizes and designs drifted in space around a small, rocky planet. Many were clearly damaged, holes in their sides patched with emergency materials, engines barely working, life support systems flickering on and off. My God, whispered Frank, looking at the scanner screens. There must be 2 million people out there. 2.3 million, according to the emergency call, confirmed Nancy. Their son started to die suddenly and strangely. They had less than a month to leave. Jack unbuckled from his seat. Nancy, get us connected to their main ship. Everyone else, get your emergency kits ready. Looks like we have a lot of work to do. The next 3 days passed in a blur of emergency repairs, desperate makeshift fixes, and almost no sleep. The refugees, the Ahoni, a species that looked like big insects with complex social groups, had managed to save almost their entire civilization before their sun made their home planets unlivable. But their hastily gathered escape fleet had never been made for long space journeys. Jack found himself floating inside the life support center of the Ahoni main ship, a huge vessel that held the species' leaders and most of their cultural treasures. Beside him, an Ahoni engineer named Tikrik watched nervously as Jack examined the failing air systems. The good news is that I can fix this, Jack said, pointing to where rust had damaged important airflow parts. The bad news is that this is happening in all your ships, isn't it? Tikrik's mouth parts clicked, and what Jack had learned was their way of nodding sadly. Our ships were built for short trips between planets, not long space travel. When our Star Watchers saw the sun changing, we had to use every ship we had, no matter what condition it was in. Jack ran a hand through his hair, leaving a streak of grease. Why didn't you go to the Galactic Council? They have emergency plans for situations like this. Tikrik's big compound eyes dimmed. We did. They offered to save 10% of our people, those they thought were most valuable for saving our cultural legacy. The rest would be left behind. Jack's face hardened. All right, let's get to work then. Over the next 2 weeks, the human repair crews did what many would later call impossible. They set up a floating repair yard in open space, sorting the most critical cases first and developing standard solutions that could be used across many ships. They taught HFY crews human repair techniques, showing them how to see their own technology in new ways. On the 16th day, Jack sat in a quickly made meeting room with Olivia, Carol, and the other human crew leaders. The tiredness on their faces was matched only by their determination. "The good news is that we've fixed the immediate life-threatening problems," Jack said, looking at the status reports. "Life support, structure, and basic movement systems are working on all ships now." "The bad news," Olivia continued, "is that these ships will never make it to the new planet the HFY have been given, not in their current state." Carol tapped her tablet thoughtfully. "What if we're thinking about this wrong? Instead of trying to make each individual ship able to complete the journey, we combine them," Frank finished, his eyes going wide. "Like the old boat convoys on Earth during wars." Jack nodded slowly, the idea taking shape in his mind. "Not just convoys. We literally connect them together. The strong ships protect the damaged ones. The ships with extra power supply those with failing systems. A fleet that repairs itself," Carol said. "A floating city of ships." The plan was bold and risky, requiring changes to ships never designed to connect to each other. But the alternative was watching the HFY slowly die as their ships failed around them. 3 days later, Jack stood with Tikrik and the HFY High Leader, watching as huge connecting clamps, quickly made from reused structural parts, locked the first ships together. "My people will never forget what humanity has done for us," the High Leader said, her translator struggling to show the depth of feeling in her native speech. "When others would leave us to die among the stars, you came." Jack shook his head. "We just did what needed doing, that's all." But as he watched more ships joining the growing megastructure, a new kind of vessel neither fully HFY nor human in design, Jack knew that something deep had changed. The makeshift repair yards around the forming ship city were busy with activity, with HFY workers now using human techniques alongside their human teachers. "You know," Olivia said, joining him at the window, "I think we just invented a new kind of starship and a new kind of alliance." Jack nodded. "Let's just hope the Council doesn't take it the wrong way." In the days that followed, Jack saw something remarkable happening among the HFY. At first, they had been hesitant to make changes to their ships following their old ways of thinking that saw ships as perfect creations not to be altered. Now they were suggesting modifications themselves, seeing possibilities where before they had only seen problems. "Look at this," Tikrik said excitedly, showing Jack a design on a tablet. "We thought to connect the waste recycling systems between ships to increase efficiency." "Is good thinking, yes?" Jack smiled. "Very good thinking. You're starting to see your ships as living things that can grow and change." "We learn from humans," Tikrik said. "You see broken, you think opportunity. We saw broken, we thought only failure." As the connected fleet grew, other human repair crews reported the same changes. The HFY were not just learning repair techniques, they were learning a new way of thinking. On the 21st day, the connected fleet was ready for its first test. Over 50 ships had been joined together in a pattern that engineers were already calling the spiral, with stronger ships forming an outer protective ring around more vulnerable vessels. "All systems connected," reported an HFY technician from the new central control room that had been created by joining 3 different ships together. "Power sharing at 95% efficiency. Life support balanced across all vessels." The High Leader turned to Jack. "We are ready for the journey to our new home. Thanks to humanity, our people will live." Jack looked around at the control room, where human and HFY worked side by side. "You did most of the work yourselves. We just showed you how to look at problems differently." "No," the High Leader said firmly. "You showed us that broken does not mean ended. That is a gift beyond measure." As Jack prepared to return to the Callisto with the other human repair crews, Tikrik approached him with a small object made of a strange, shifting metal. "For you," Tikrik said, "a token from our people. It is called a memory crystal." It will hold the story of what happened here for 1,000 years. Jack took the gift, carefully. Thank you, but we didn't do this for rewards. We know, Tikrik said. That is why the story must be told. As the Callisto pulled away from the connected fleet, Jack watched through the viewport as the massive structure began to move as one, heading toward the distant star that would be the Ehoni's new home. It wasn't pretty or elegant, but it would get them there. Do you think the council will be angry? Olivia asked, standing beside him. We basically just created a new kind of ship design that breaks about 50 different galactic regulations. Jack shrugged. Probably. But what were we supposed to do? Let 2 million people die because their ships didn't meet code? That's the difference, isn't it? Frank said from behind them. The council sees rules. We see people. As the Callisto jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading back to Earth, Jack turned the memory crystal in his hands. Something had changed out here among the stars, and he knew the ripples would spread far beyond this one refugee fleet. Humanity had shown the galaxy not just how to fix ships, but how to reimagine what was possible. And that was a lesson that couldn't be unlearned. The news of what humans had done for the Ehoni spread quickly through the galaxy. Some council species saw it with alarm, thinking humans were using their repair skills to gain too much power. Others saw it as proof that humanity brought something special and valuable to the galactic community. 6 months after the Ehoni rescue, Repair Station 47, Jack's original station, had nearly doubled in size. New docking areas stuck out like spokes from the central hub, and a permanent diplomatic section had been added to host the growing number of alien officials who wanted to watch human repair operations firsthand. Jack, however, wasn't there to see it. He stood instead in the huge docking bay of the Ancestral Memory, the main warship of the Drakari Empire's Grand Fleet. Before him stood the imposing figure of Fleet Commander Vexar, whose red scales and tall height would have scared most humans. Miller, the commander said in a deep voice, your name is known throughout the stars. Jack looked up at the towering lizard-like alien. As is yours, Commander. Now, are you going to tell me what was so important that I had to be brought all the way to Drakari space under special protection? The commander motioned for Jack to follow. They walked through hallways lined with Drakari warriors who looked at the human with a mix of curiosity and reluctant respect. For 10,000 years, the Drakari have conquered or destroyed all who opposed us, Vexar said as they walked. Our technology was the best in the galaxy, until recently. They entered a vast room that Jack realized was the ship's engine room. At its center sat a device unlike anything he had ever seen. A swirling storm of energy held inside crystal structures that seemed to bend reality around them. This is the heart of conquest, Vexar explained. The space-folding drive that has powered Drakari ships for thousands of years. It was given to our ancestors by beings from beyond the stars. Jack studied the device with professional interest. Given, not developed. You never fully understood how it worked, did you? The commander's tail moved once, a sign of annoyance but also agreement. Our technical workers can maintain them, but true understanding? No. And now, they are failing. Jack approached the device carefully. And you want me to fix it? Why? Not come to one of our stations? Politics, Vexar said simply. The High Command would never admit weakness by openly seeking human help. But they also cannot allow our drives to fail. So, we made a compromise. One human, brought in secret to examine the problem. Jack spent the next 3 days studying the space-folding drive, a technology clearly beyond current human science. Yet the basic ideas of troubleshooting were the same. Check each part, test components, look for patterns in the failures. On the 4th day, he called Vexar to the engine room. I've found your problem, he said directly. And it's not technical, it's cultural. The commander's eyes narrowed. Explain. Jack pointed to the maintenance records he had been studying. Your technical workers follow the same procedures that were set up thousands of years ago. They never change them, never experiment, never try to improve the process. They're maintaining these drives exactly as they were taught, without understanding why. Our traditions have served us. Your traditions are killing your empire, Jack interrupted. These drives need to be recalibrated for the changing conditions of the galaxy. It's like, imagine tuning a musical instrument once and expecting it to stay in tune forever as the weather changes around it. Vexar was silent for a long moment. Can you fix them? I can fix this one, Jack said. And I can teach your people how to fix the others. But it means changing how your technical workers think. They need to understand, not just memorize. 3 weeks later, Jack Miller returned to human space aboard an unmarked transport ship. With him came 12 young Drakari engineers, the first of their kind ever allowed to leave the Empire for training. Director Elaine Daniels met them as they docked at Station 47. Successful mission, I take it? She asked as Jack stepped off. The ship. You could say that. He gestured to the Drakari engineers who followed him, looking around with barely hidden wonder at the busy repair station. The first class of what the commander is calling the New Technical Order. They're here to learn our repair methods. Elaine raised an eyebrow. The Drakari are sending us students now? Times really are changing. It gets better, Jack said with a smile. The Galactic Council has officially asked that humanity set up what they're calling technical academies in each major sector. Places where we can teach other species our repair techniques. I thought the Council was worried about us creating too much dependency. They were. Then the Ahoni situation happened and they realized something important. We don't want dependency. We want to teach others to do what we do. As they walked through the station, they passed Bay 12, where Carol was showing a repair technique to a group of alien engineers from 5 different species. In Bay 7, Frank was overseeing the installation of a hybrid engine system that combined technologies from 3 different civilizations. The ambassador from the Medusan Collective had an interesting take on it, Elaine said as they entered her office. He said that most spacefaring species develop by focusing on theoretical advancements, pure science moving forward in logical steps. Humanity developed differently. Let me guess, Jack said. We developed by breaking stuff and then figuring out how to fix it. Basically, yes. He called it the wisdom of failure. The Medusans believe that's why alien ships swarm human repair stations, not just because we can fix their technology, but because we represent a kind of knowledge their civilizations never developed. Jack looked out the window at the diverse collection of vessels docked at the station. So what happens now? Elaine handed him a data tablet. Now you get to help design the first technical academy. The council wants it running within a year, with you as its first director. Me? I'm just a mechanic. No, Jack, you're a teacher. You've been teaching every time you fixed something and showed someone else how you did it. She smiled. And now the galaxy wants to learn. 1 year later, the first graduating class of the Earth Technical Academy gathered in the main assembly hall. 200 students from 37 different species stood as Jack Miller addressed them. When you return to your homeworlds, he said, looking out at the diverse gathering, you'll take with you more than just repair techniques and diagnostic procedures. You'll take with you a way of thinking, a human approach to problem solving that has served our species since we first picked up stones as tools. He gestured to the Academy's motto, displayed on the wall. Anything can be fixed. This isn't just about maintaining ships or equipment. It's about refusing to accept failure as final. It's about looking at something broken and seeing not just what it is, but what it could be again. That's the human touch that brings alien ships to our repair stations. Not because no one else can do what we do, but because we believe that everything deserves a second chance. As the ceremony concluded, Jack found himself standing beside Tikrik, who had become the Academy's first Ihoni instructor. The connected fleet reached the new colony world safely, Tikrik said. Our engineers maintained it the entire journey, using what you taught us. Jack nodded. And now you're teaching others. Yes. Because that is also the human way, is it not? To pass knowledge forward. Outside the Academy's windows, ships from across the galaxy continued to arrive at Earth's orbital facilities. Some for repairs, but increasingly many came bringing students eager to learn. The repair stations that had once been humanity's unexpected contribution to galactic civilization were growing into something more. Bridges between species, built on the universal experience of breaking and fixing. And in distant shipyards, new vessels were being designed, ships that combined the best technologies of multiple civilizations, maintained by engineers trained in human repair methods. They called these ships menders, and their mission was simple: to go where they were needed to fix what was broken and to teach others to do the same. The human touch, it seemed, was spreading among the stars. 3 years after the Ahoni rescue, Jack stood in the observation dome of the newly completed Central Technical Academy orbiting Earth. Beside him stood Vexar, now the Drakari ambassador to Earth, a position that would have been unthinkable before. "Your students have returned to Drakari space," the ambassador said. "They have already improved our drive efficiency by 26%. "Good," Jack said. "And the old technical order? How are they taking the changes?" Vexar made a sound that Jack recognized as a Drakari laugh. "With difficulty. But they cannot argue with results. Our fleet now travels farther and faster than at any time in our history." Below them, Earth glowed blue and green, surrounded by a growing constellation of repair stations, academies, and joint species research facilities. What had begun as a simple repair shop had blossomed into a new kind of galactic cooperation. "The Council has a new saying," Vexar said. "If humans cannot fix it, it cannot be fixed." Jack smiled. "We'll fix that saying too. It should be, if it cannot yet be fixed, we just haven't found the right way to look at it." And that perhaps was humanity's greatest gift to the stars, not the ability to fix what was broken, but the stubborn belief that with the right perspective and enough determination, nothing was ever truly beyond repair. The end.